Hello and welcome. Today we're working on how to add drop-down lists in Excel. So let's get started. My name's Jeff from Finally Learn, or Help You Finally Learn Financial Literacy. So here I have an existing chart that has sales by month and city, and I've used a SUM-IF function to calculate, well, what about the sales for February? Or I can do this for January. So I can calculate that. There's a formula there. If you want to see how the SUM-IFs work, I have a separate video for you. But I'm just trying to solve a problem. What if we have all these months and we want to put them in and we don't want to type these over and over again? We can do a drop-down list. So here's how you do the drop-down list. Somewhere, I would hide this somewhere either on this sheet below or to the right or just on a separate sheet. I would say, okay, here are the months that I need. You can do all the way through December if you want to. But let's say here's the months that I need, that I want on my drop-down list. So if you go to the data, so I'm going to put it in this cell right here, the data ribbon, and go to the right and find data validation. I'm going to allow a list, and the source is just going to be these right here, the months. So now, instead of having to type that in, we can just select it from a list. So the March sales would be the total of 63,400. We also have built in a few months. April here does not have any data, so when we add April data here, then it would work. So then January, February works. Now, what if we do for cities? We don't want to type in Atlanta or Tampa. If we misspelled Atlanta, then it's not going to work, right? And so we have to spell it exactly correctly. So here's what we can do. We can do a range here that all has this drop-down list. So let's get started here. We do I'm going to highlight this range and go to data validation on the data ribbon. We're going to do a list, and the source is this right here. I'm going to add a space so we can add another future city. So now each one of these becomes a drop-down list. So we could select no city, or we can select Memphis and compare it to Charlotte and compare that to Atlanta. And so there we have the totals for all the cities using that SUM-IFs function. Look at the other video for that to learn how the SUM-IFs work, but that's how a drop-down list works. Let's do one with numbers. I have this chart on a car payment. So if you have a $25,000 car and the interest rate is 5% and it's for 5 years or 60 months, then here's the car payment. I used a payment function here. If you want to see how to do a car payment, I've got another video for you. But I want to do it for two things. I want to change the interest rate. Instead of typing in interest rate, let's say somebody types in, well, this is 80%. Well, that's not a realistic interest rate for a car loan. That's way too high. So you want to make it kind of goof-proof where people cannot mess it up. Okay, so let's go back to the 8% or a 5%. You see everything's built on formulas. Well, an easy way to do that obviously is with the data validation with the list. So I want to make this a list, and the source is going to be all these right here, and hit OK. So now I have a big drop-down list that says, well, what if interest rate gets to be 12%? Well, we're paying more for our car and we're paying more total interest, and the interest is about 25% of the total payments that we make. So let's go change that back to, let's say, 6%. So you see our proportion of interest is less. Well, we do the same thing for the number of months, 24 months all the way to 84 months. So 2 years all the way up to 7 years, which is a long time to finance a car. So we're going to do the data validation and the list, and the source is going to be those numbers. Hit OK. So now we get to see, well, what's the effect if we change the number of months? If we finance it for all 84 months, it's going to be a very cheaper per month, but about 19% is going to be interest. So if you want to see that video, check out the car payment video in the description below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Thumbs up if you like it, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.